Welcome to part 2 of this subscriber special. Now for the other movie that tied with the former, Tom and Jerry Back to Oz. No, I still can't believe there's a sequel, but here we are.
Who's that hiding in the treetops? It's that rascal, the jitterbug. Should you catch?
A while back, me and Huey Toonmore took a look at the 2011 animated remake of the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. Only here it includes Tom and Jerry because Time Warner had the rights and they were already putting the duo into movies with literary characters, so why not revive a classic movie based on a book? It was pretty bad, story and humor-wise, while having some decent animation and a few book elements that weren't there before. And either because it made money, or they didn't have anything else to do, but 5 years later, a sequel was born. Your first instinct may be that this might be their version of Return to Oz, either the Rankin Bass or Disney version, since with the Disney version especially, it can be seen as a sequel to the original film, if not unofficially. But no, this movie takes more after the likes of Ozma of Oz, given the main antagonist of the movie. So who knows what they'll do with the Metro Mayor film characters. Last thing of note is that besides the usual staff from the first movie, this was the last film that Joe Alaskey, one of Mel Blanc's successors at Warner Brothers Animation Studios, known for voicing several classic characters of our time, ever made before his death in 2016. He would once again reprise his role as the Wizard, as well as Butch and Droopy, in a post-release, if you will. More or less, this movie was made in memory of him. While that may not change my overall view on the movie, it is at least nice they did that. That just leaves me wondering if this is any better or worse than the first Tom and Jerry Oz flick. Let's find out. Well, here's something different. They recap the first movie using selected film clips and audio. It's awkward to say the least, and most of the ones featuring Tom and Jerry just have them doing nothing at all. Aren't you glad they were around at all, though? I'm not. So this was all an attempt to show us the fact that Dorothy was telling everyone who was present at the end of the first movie what the hell her dream was all about.
Dorothy spins some yarns, but that one takes the cake.
Wicked witches, talking scarecrows, land. What an imagination that child has.
They think I made it all up. If there was only some way to make them believe.
Why? The point of your adventure was to learn about the importance of family and the meaning of home. Wouldn't you just be glad they know you're alive at all? Well, that doesn't matter because she still has the ruby slippers and intends to show everyone.
Reach for the sky, you coyotes! Look at me! A traveling Wild West show got caught up in the twister.
It dropped spangled saddles and rhinestone boots all over the county.
Oh, back to work, you clowns. The farm's still in shambles, and you're playing dress-up.
Looky there. Even Dorothy got into the act.
Meh. And reprisal of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Okay, not too bad, but really now, where are they going with this? Well, aside from one of the Wicked Witch's Grinch monkeys still around, this just follows up on the aftermath of the Twister as their farm got wrecked hard. While that would be fine, as Dorothy of Oz actually starts out during the aftermath of the Twister, they go into some Tom and Jerry-esque logic with Rob Paulson's Little Machine.
Your Cyclo-what's-this?
Reverse cyclonatron. Now, say we get, I don't know, another twister.
Oh, don't even joke about that, Hickory.
Well, this brilliant invention of mine will generate enough wind to blow that twister right back where it came from.
Look, just because you were in G.I. Joe back in the 80s, doesn't mean you can go and make your own weather dominator in the 30s. I mean, where would he even get the parts to make this thing? They can't be easy to come by. Also, you would think that since they're not basing this off an actual movie, and loosely using elements from the books, that Tom and Jerry would actually have more interaction with the Oz cast. Right?
Well, The yard's not going to pick itself up.
Well, sorta. They do actually interact more this movie, and it does help this one is a half hour longer than the previous film. It's just right now, it feels more the same. Now here's a song that started out making it seem like she's stating bad things about the home she lived in compared to Oz.
The roof keeps a dripping, the paint's kinda chipping. There's no place like home. The cow's looking frail and she can't fill a pail. But there's no place like home. Something's liable to go amiss when you live at this address.
But then she starts acting like it doesn't matter. She's still happy at home. It's not sung badly either. I'm just not sure how to really feel for the moment. Tom and Jerry just exist as an element to her home. So far, it's mostly Dorothy's movie, as she's the one engaged with the plot the most. That, of course, being that Jason Alexander, voicing Mr. Bibb in this movie, is taking the Gale farm animals away because...
Seems during the recent tornado, some of your uncle's pigs broke free and devoured my entire watermelon patch. And as you know, I can't make Luscious Lucious's world-famous watermelon barbecue sauce with empty melons, now can I?
1. What? 2. And this was their fault how? For all they knew, they lost those pigs to the tornado. They wouldn't know what they've done, should they have been found. Oh, and what Tom does here sums up their role in this movie. You see that? He drew a funny face on that poster and laughed before getting hurt. It's funny! Laugh! Laugh, Dan, you laugh! So this is more of a repeat of the first movie, as instead of Miss Gulch taking Toto away and Dorothy refusing to understand adult business, here Mr. Bibb is taking livestock away and that Dorothy refuses to accept things and wants to help. But the family won't let her because she's too young.
This is my home, too. I want to help save it. I know I can.
This is grown-up business, Dorothy.
Well, I'm 15. Practically. In 8 months.
If you really want to help,
Yes?
just stay out of trouble.
This movie forgot that in the last movie, everyone was worried for each other and it brought them closer. But now they've forgotten and treat Dorothy like a child again. So they have a day to get jobs to pay off Mr. Bibb, or else the animals will get cooked at the state fair. Well, not much they can do but fix stuff, but uh-oh, the flying monkey wrecked her room. Not that she knows yet, but she puts the ruby slippers on just in case. Tom and Jerry, in the meantime, act like themselves. Still not laughing. Soon Tom finds the monkey, and for some reason the monkey fools around with him, like it's unsure whether to take him away or torture him for no reason. Once it sees Dorothy, though, he definitely goes after her. The sequence of Tom and Jerry trying to save her would be fine if they were considered more than just slapstick buddies, since half the time it feels like that's all they are. And then, again, some of the time, Dorothy and friends would acknowledge them. They had a chance to make it more of the latter, but they're keeping to the same writing the first time around. Though one thing to come out of this scene, while Jerry tends to get away from having bad things happen to him often, Tom does at least get one good thing to happen during the movie.
I got you.
Scarecrow!
The only problem was how he would have saved her without Scarecrow, but I digress. So yeah, Scarecrow, Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion are here because that mound from earlier was actually another way into Oz. That will be explained in a bit, but for now, Scarecrow tells her about what happened since she left for home, such as the Scarecrow ruling as king, having a potion that can bring even a statue to life, the flying monkeys, whose presence caused the cloudy border to disappear during the flashback, and take away Glinda's wand while undoing what the heroes learned from the last movie. And now to meet our villain of the film.
If anyone's going to wave that wand, Glinda dear, it's going to be me.
Oh!
Yep, it's our Oz counterpart to Mr. Bibb, the Nome King, Ruggado. Yes, that's how it's spelled. The Nome King was a recurring antagonist in the Oz books, having first appeared in Ozma of Oz, while also appearing in sequel books by Frank Baum, despite being dethroned, and took revenge on the surface dwellers by turning them into slaves. His kind also have a thing against eggs because they represent matriarchy, as there are no women in his race. Earlier, Mr. Bibb showed disgust with eggs, outright rejecting them as a potential payment. How will this translate over to this version of him? Well, at any rate, he wants Dorothy dead because of her ruby slippers, and she might have the power to stop him. So he made that tunnel to her farm, which only raises the question of where the Land of Oz is in this world if you can get there by ground, in addition to falling from the sky. Since Ruggado feared the wizard for his magic, they believe if they can find him, he might be able to help. Tom and Jerry, after another gag, find the flyer for the state fair, which even states Wizard of Oz. Well, either way, to avoid trouble with the townsfolk, Dorothy has her friends dress up as their Kansas counterparts.
You look fat.
Allow me.
Oh, a snug.
You know what's sad? This idea had some potential to be clever with its humor if it actually focused on just the Oz characters. Since if by chance these three did make it to Kansas, I could totally see them try to pass themselves off as their counterparts since Dorothy was convinced they looked like them when she went to Oz. The problem with this idea? Tom and Jerry are present throughout the movie, so instead of humor that would be whimsical and full of charm, it's mainly cartoonish to the point of absolute obnoxiousness. Case in point, when they give the tractor the entire magic potion since it has no fuel.
Woo-wee! That stuff's got a kick to it. Real high octane. My cylinders feel brand new.
Oh, what have you done?
Solved our transportation problem.
Nothing in Oz looked anything like that, nor did they operate like that. Also, Meanwhile, at the state fair, that probably wasn't this advanced at the time, they run into James Monroe Inglehart's character, Calvin Carney. He won't let them in without money, of course, but once he hears Tin Man has emeralds, he breaks into song.
I'm Calvin Carney, showman extraordinaire, and I'm gonna tell you all about this mighty fine affair. Feast your eyes and claim your prize. You're in for quite a treat. A meager fee to come with me and sample something sweet. Oh, can't you feel it popping? So feverishly fun. And there's no sign of stopping. The party's just begun.
And I have to be honest, this is probably the one good original song of the movie. Part of it helps that Monroe is a Broadway actor, known to have been featured in the stage shows for Aladdin and currently Hamilton. The song also gives that jazzy flair of the mysticism that comes at a state fair, while you get absorbed by his words. The only problem is the animation. Like before, the backgrounds can look really well detailed and they often complement the character designs. But then you have moments like this where the background characters don't move at all. Seriously, not even a blink from them. It's like an NPC out of Tales of Berseria all over again. And while Tom and Jerry still exist to try and get a laugh, I did like this bit where they dance with Toodles and what may be a modified Toots from Springtime for Thomas. Nothing bad happens to them neither. They both win first place before moving on to where the wizard is. So yeah, that's at least one other good thing about the movie. The song sequence. Now let's see how they screw up the rest of the movie. The group finds the wizard, aka Oscar, trying to show off to country bumpkins his magic, but they aren't impressed. Not even by floating seeds that turn into giant flowers. Be impressed, damn it! Otherwise, time to meet him.
We've come to take you back to Oz.
What? And give up showbiz?
You can have your phony flowers back. They smell funny.
Oh, that'll wash out, probably. Yes, well, in truth, I am growing weary of the carnival circuit. The folks hereabouts just don't crave Oz-style magic.
Well, you know who does. The Nome King.
Ruggido? Oh, don't tell me that grizzled old gopher is back.
Yes, and meaner than ever. He's seized control of the Emerald City.
Then we'll just seize it right back.
Well, that certainly didn't take much convincing. Kinda defeats the purpose of letting Scarecrow having his new knowledge and ruling over the land in case he didn't come back. And indeed, because that machine Hickory made will help amplify the effects of the bottled tornado so they can fly back into Oz. But first, after Tom drops the whole bottle into the machine, we need to have Karma hit Mr. Bibb.
Next stop, Oz. And I pray we're not too late.
So basically this movie is telling me that Oz does exist. And it wasn't a dream. Sure, why not? I mean, okay, the books would imply its existence, but this is supposed to follow the continuity of the first movie, which was based on another movie that made it all a dream. Back at Oz, Ruggido and his army of scary-looking gnomes start singing a song about his long-awaited plan to conquer the land.
The Ozians are known to be oppressive and unkind. They've stolen every stone of precious emerald that we've mined, and none of it was earned, so they should be concerned. For I will stop at nothing till what's mine has been returned.
I'm not sure if this is close to the books regarding if they actually did this, since they were known for hoarding jewelry at least. Of course, what's odd is that, once again, Droopy and Butch are here, even though Droopy was one of the Wicked Witch's guards in the last movie. And honestly, I don't think he needed all this magic to combat Dorothy. Had he just kept her friends locked up like he was supposed to, she probably would never have found out about what you've done and would have just stayed home.
Oh, here's a beautier gnome ship. Enchanted owl eggs.
Eggs? Gnomes hate eggs. We're deathly allergic.
So, no fear of matriarchy, just they're allergic. Why would I expect anything else? So the reason he's doing this is because his father was friendly and gave the people of this city the emeralds and the rubies needed to make the slippers. Meaning in this universe, the Nome King is just a greedy jerk who wants his father's fortunes for himself. And he plans to bring the city underground once he gets the slippers, since their power will let him do it. In which case, he has the monkeys intercept Dorothy as they fly into Oz.
Oh no.
No! Oh my! Hold on!
No, they save her. But during Tin Man's attempt to ward them off, he hits the balloon, causing them to drop into the cotton candy forest. Oscar, of course, gets taken, so our heroes have to go on without him. And rather than send the army after her again, Ruggido thinks of slowing them down before getting to the river by sending their recently captured Jitterbug, who is this world's equivalent to Calvin Carney. And yes, he is dressed like the Mask. Or he could just be in fashion at the time, who knows. By the way, this next sequence is something that I honestly would not have found all that good had I not learned where it came from. Just watch as the Jitterbug does his thing to Dorothy and crew.
It's a what's this?
Who's that?
Who's that?
Who's that?
Who's that? Who's that hiding in the treetops? It's that rascal, the Jitterbug. Should you catch him buzzing around you, keep away from the Jitterbug.
Okay, so it's still not very good in execution, but I get what they were going for. This is their rendition of a song that was cut from the 1939 Oz film. that being called Jitterbug. It was cut due to it being possibly out of place, given that this took place before the flying monkeys attacked, and possibly because it would just seem dated, as this would have been a nod to the Bobby Soxer dance craze at the time of the film's release. While the scene itself was taken out, its existence was still mentioned by the Wicked Witch prior to the monkeys attacking Dorothy.
They'll give you no trouble, I promise you that. I've sent a little insect on ahead to take the fight out of them. If you catch him buzzing round, you keep away from the jitterbug.
So, since this would fulfill the same purpose of wearing down the group for Ruggido to capture them, it was pretty cool of them to actually reference a lost scene that for a while was only in certain stage plays of the story. But here, the most they do with the Jitterbug isn't anything jazzy per se. He turns them yellow and makes them dance. Not much else to say, but interesting use of an Oz moment, just not well executed. Tom and Jerry do team up again to drop his guard long enough to tangle him into a dance, and for Dorothy to capture him in her basket. He promises to behave, but that won't matter for a long time. While they reach the river, the gnomes cause a chasm to appear, which lets the gnomes attack them, and... animation issue? So Dorothy and Scarecrow get captured, though they do manage to get away by tricking their captors into making the tunnels bigger. Tom, Toto, and the Cowardly Lion fall down the chasm, and Jerry and Tin Man fall into the river. They get saved by some unknown people who pull Tin Man out of the river. And just what are they? Mice!
That was very brave. Are you all right?
And they call my ticker noisy, Your Highness. Allow me to present Jerry Mouse of Kansas.
Well, if Toodles can have her design like this, so can she. Anyway, the Queen is gonna be helping them out for a while. Meanwhile, the Cowardly Lion decides he wants to go through the dark forest to get to where they need to go. And partway through, each of them get captured by reject hooligans. Dorothy and Scarecrow make it inside the city, only to find it swarming with gnomes. They get into Oscar's old wizard room, thinking they outsmarted Ruggido, but of course, they didn't.
Well, as I live and breathe, it's the Brainiac. And me's goody two-shoes, all caught in the same trap. You may notice a few changes around here.
Well, you look a bit more intimidating than you have been before, but still not enough to make me like you. As Dorothy wallows in despair, Scarecrow tries cheering her up, as Lion is taken to...
Well, well, well. Look what cat they dragged in. That could be the ex-king of the forest. You know, boys, I'm very disappointed in you. You were supposed to bring back some meat, not a big cream puff.
Miss Fowl from Jimmy Neutron? No, this is Andrea Martin voicing what is supposed to be the Hungry Tiger. In the books, he was a large beast that was always hungry, and was a friend to the Cowardly Lion. Here they made him a woman, slimmed her down, and gave her the same sort of sex appeal that Toodles has. On one hand, I do like how they're trying to make up for the fact the lion got showed up by giving Toofy his song, and they're making up by letting him have some character development by letting him show courage to the more intelligent tiger.
You couldn't hurt a fly. Your skin's so stiff you look like you've been stuffed.
Well, speaking of who's stuffed, that paunch is pretty puffed. It's clear that you've been living large.
But on the other hand, this is still not a very good Tom and Jerry skit, when Tom doesn't even get to take part in it all that much.
Time to give up the crown. There's only room for one top cat in town.
Oh my, oh my, oh my. Let's kiss this cat goodbye. You keep your pretty paws off my domain.
You lily-livered lump. Your own shadow makes you jump. Your roar is more a widow yet.
Just f
already!
Alright, I forgot Toofy was in this movie. Yeah, earlier he got caught and lost his stilts, while Kath Soucie was busy voicing the tractor from earlier. So Dorothy has a choice. Give up the slippers or our friends die.
Here, I'm sure you'll look lovely in them.
You really don't understand their power, do you? These miraculous shoes reflect the personality of whoever wears them. To you, they're ruby slippers. To me, they're blood red boots.
Redfoot Zeph wore it better. Glinda seems to hint that if Ruggedo uses the boots for evil, it would lead to misfortune. This might allude to how his character in the books was about self-destruction in his evil, but it might just be a loose reference. He kicks Toofy out, only for him to land where Jerry and Tin Man are, which means they know what's going to happen and they can come up with a plan. Until then, Ruggedo starts punning up a quake.
The Emeralds of Emerald City will be back where they belong.
Oh, I got a sinking feeling about this.
Oh, hi, Spike and Tyke.
There's no place like Nome. There's no place like Nome. There's no place like Nome.
At least Jerry and Tin Man's group fly in just as Ruggedo sings another song.
Welcome to the new Emerald City. Let the bells of doom start to ring. For you can never stop the destruction I will bring.
Pass! So after dropping the city underground, he threatens to throw Dorothy and Scarecrow into a pit. But Droopy and Butch aren't going to because...
Guard job description.
But when it actually comes down to destroying living scarecrows and little girls, we're drawing the line.
As if they have standards. So a fight breaks out. Tin Man and group try to help out too, as he deflects a blast from Glinda's wand and has the Mouse Army intimidate Ruggedo. But really, it's Tom and the Lion who pull through because they were able to convince the Hungry Tiger to have her people help out because they promised she could eat the gnomes.
We nearly forgot the Air Force.
Yay, the payoff to the eggs weakness. Okay, after a while of Ruggedo stomping and making the emeralds fall, which for some reason can bind them in a magic field, Dorothy gives him the friendship speech, which results in... this. What the hell just happened? Anyway, Tom and Jerry toss Dorothy her basket up to her to let the jitterbug out to make Ruggedo dance, as well as that Dorothy statue, which frees everyone, who then free Glinda, the statue saves our heroes, and Ruggedo falls into the pit. Though Tom and Jerry do try to save him, they only succeed in getting the ruby slippers back.
Oh, come on, pull it harder, harder.
Well, that was just awful.
At least he went dancing.
Ugh. Using the slippers, they bring the city back up to the surface. Oscar reveals that he was able to tame the monkeys, and only now just decided to show up. And I guess he took his old job back since he reassigns Droopy and Butch to clean up after the horses. But he still lets Scarecrow and friends rule while he leaves these parting words to Dorothy before she goes.
Though some may call you a child, your brave spirit is ageless.
Thank you.
The last thing she does get before she warps home is a bottle from Oscar, which will help in repaying Mr. Bibb, because they end up growing a large watermelon. And really, the film winds down with more shenanigans, Tractor returning, the family coming back, and learning that Dorothy got Mr. Bibb to drop the charges. Might as well end with Tom and Jerry fooling around, and Dorothy getting the final word in.
Like I always say, Annie M.
And when I'm singing to the Kansas sky, I know why I don't roam, 'cause it's place. There's no place like home.
Well, for better or for worse, this was both better and worse than their first Oz crossover movie. Because they went for their own plot, it allowed them to work in more characters and elements from the books to come up with something more original with the whole Tom and Jerry and Oz story. Some things would seem like they could work for a comedy, like Scarecrow and group dressing up like their Kansas counterparts, the way the Hungry Tiger is shown off, and some of Ruggido's antics could have been fun. However, because they were trying to have humor based on the Tom and Jerry style, you would think they would be integrated a lot more, but instead they focus more on Dorothy and Friends. Like they wanted to make up for focusing on the comedy duo last movie instead of the Ozcast, but instead of meshing them in better, it just becomes another Tom and Jerry the movie scenario where it feels like they landed into an entirely different movie. Their humor just isn't that good here, and they bring the humor of everything else down to their level just so it even fits. The animation is passable. There's some instances where scene continuity is choppy, emotionless background characters, and uncanny expressions. The end credits do at least show the process it took to make these scenes happen, and as much as I rag on a movie for when it comes to something odd happening with the animation, I do get the painstaking process it must take to really make this happen at all. Things like time, limited work budget, and staff can take a toll on the overall product. Even if the style or the story isn't for everyone, I do appreciate the effort they put in to make something the best they can. Honestly though, they really should have just left this as like a spin-off to the original Oz film like several others have before, and attempt more original humor not bound to the slapstick style that Tom and Jerry are most known for. You can't keep attempting to bring them into the highlight when this is all they can do. At least with Scooby-Doo, you can actually do new things with them because their humor and style of storytelling can be updated with the times. Tom and Jerry cannot the way they are now, and I'm just afraid they're gonna burn out. Either way, I wouldn't recommend this movie unless you had a choice between it and the first Oz crossover. It just fails as a good take on an old literary series while basing it on an old classic movie. And so ends the subscriber special. Thank you once again for sticking by me for this long, and hopefully the next time we do this, I don't end up with something more sinister than this. Until then, who's up for another corny movie?
Take a taste, 'cause we got so much cooking.
Take a taste, 'cause we got so much
Step
cooking.
inside the hottest joint in town. There's magic in the making, and there's music in the air. Yes, indeed, it's guaranteed. And as my guest, you'll get